This show is part of OnePlace, a daily network of focused briefings across the stories people follow most.
Welcome to today's Sports Roundup. We are diving into the NBA playoffs, a massive NHL Game 7, and the latest international football news as we prepare for a packed week of elite competition.
The Knicks host Cleveland to start the Eastern Finals.
Cleveland thrashes Detroit to secure their conference finals spot.
Buffalo and Montreal face off in a decisive Game 7.
Cristiano Ronaldo leads Portugal in his final World Cup bid.
Donovan Mitchell proves he can lead Cleveland to glory.
The Pistons look to learn from a crushing blowout.
Cleveland's big men dominate the paint in Detroit's house.
The Cavaliers dismantle the top seed to advance further.
Starting with the Knicks, the New York Knicks are set to host the Cleveland Cavaliers this Tuesday at Madison Square Garden to kick off the Eastern Conference Finals. This matchup features the third-seeded Knicks against the fourth-seeded Cavaliers, both of whom have shown incredible resilience to get here. During the regular season, New York held a slight edge, winning 2 out of their 3 meetings. However, the Cavaliers took the most recent contest in late February with a convincing 109-94 victory. Jalen Brunson has been the engine for New York, averaging 26 points and nearly 7 assists, while Karl Anthony Towns has been finding his rhythm lately. The Knicks have been particularly strong against Eastern Conference opponents this year, boasting a 3-5-1-7 record. They also have a knack for winning close games, going 9-4 in one-possession matchups this season.
Cleveland enters this series with a high-powered offense that ranks second in the Eastern Conference, averaging nearly 120 points per game. Donovan Mitchell remains their primary threat, averaging over 26 points in his last 10 outings, but James Harden has also been a vital playmaker with over 23 points and 8 assists per game. A key factor in this series will be the three-point line. The Knicks make about 14 threes per game, which happens to be exactly what the Cavaliers' defense typically allows. If New York can get hot from deep, it could neutralize Cleveland's interior scoring advantage. On the injury front, the Knicks are monitoring OG Anunoby's hamstring, while the Cavaliers will be without Larry Nance Jr. due to illness. With the Knicks favored by 6.5 points, the atmosphere in New York is expected to be electric for Game 1.
Next up, the Cleveland Cavaliers secured their spot in the Eastern Conference Finals by absolutely thrashing the top-seeded Detroit Pistons 125-94 in a decisive Game 7. This marks Cleveland's first trip to the conference finals since 2018, ending a significant drought for the franchise. Donovan Mitchell led the charge with 26 points, but he had plenty of help as Sam Merrill and Jarrett Allen each chipped in 23 points. Evan Mobley also had a standout performance with 21 points. The Cavaliers showed incredible mental toughness throughout this series, especially after losing the first 2 games. They managed to flip the script entirely, racing out to a 20-point lead in the first half of Game 7 and never looking back. Mitchell emphasized after the game that while the win was fantastic, the team needs to be more disciplined and avoid falling into early series holes in the future.
On the other side of the bracket, the NBA also announced that Oklahoma City guard Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has won his 2nd consecutive MVP award. He becomes only the 14th player in league history to achieve back-to-back MVPs, joining legends like Nikola Jokic and Stephen Curry. Gilgeous-Alexander received 83 first-place votes after a stellar season where he averaged over 31 points and 6 assists per game. His leadership helped Oklahoma City secure a 6-4, 1-8 record and the top seed in the Western Conference. As the Cavaliers prepare for the Knicks, the Western Conference Finals are also getting underway, with Oklahoma City facing either the Spurs or the Mavericks. The stakes couldn't be higher as these teams vie for a spot in the NBA Finals. For Cleveland, the focus remains on maintaining the momentum they built during their dominant closeout performance against Detroit.
Now to the NHL. The Buffalo Sabres and Montreal Canadiens are heading into a winner-take-all Game 7 after a wild series that has seen momentum swing back and forth. Buffalo forced this deciding game with a dominant 8-3 victory on the road in Montreal, marking their highest scoring output in months. The Sabres' offense exploded when they needed it most, but the story of Game 6 was also about the goaltending. Alex Lyon struggled early, allowing 3 goals on just 4 shots, but Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen came in and provided much-needed stability by stopping all 18 shots he faced. The Sabres will likely lean on Luke Konen again for Game 7 as they look to complete the comeback. This series has been incredibly tight, with neither team ever holding a lead of more than one game at any point, making this final matchup a true toss-up.
For the Canadiens, the path to victory in Game 7 lies in their offensive consistency. In their 3 wins this series, they've averaged over 5 goals per game, but they haven't been able to sustain that pressure across all 3 periods in their losses. They actually scored 3 goals in the first period of Game 6, but then went completely cold for the rest of the night. History is also on the line here, as these 2 teams haven't met in the playoffs since 1998. The last time Montreal beat Buffalo in the postseason was back in 1993, the same year they won their most recent Stanley Cup. Fans can catch the action on ESPN as both teams fight to keep their seasons alive. With the home ice advantage in Buffalo, the Sabres are hoping the crowd at KeyBank Center can propel them into the next round.
Shifting to football. Cristiano Ronaldo is preparing for what is widely expected to be his final World Cup appearance in 2026. At 41 years old, the legendary forward is looking to fill the one major gap in his trophy cabinet. Despite his incredible career, Ronaldo has never won the World Cup, with his best finish being a semi-final appearance back in 2006. Since then, he has struggled to make an impact in the knockout stages, scoring only 1 goal beyond the group phase in his entire career. Portugal enters the tournament as a top contender, especially after their recent success in the UEFA Nations League. While Ronaldo remains the most famous face on the team, the tactical focus has shifted toward a new generation of stars. Roberto Martinez is expected to name his final squad soon, and the pressure will be on to balance veteran leadership with youthful energy.
The real engine of this modern Portugal side is Bruno Fernandes, who at 31 is arguably the team's most important player. Fernandes has been in sensational form, challenging assist records and creating more chances than anyone else in the Premier League this season. While the midfield and defense are stacked with talent, there are concerns about the forward line's efficiency. Rafael Leao has struggled with his form at AC Milan, scoring only 9 goals this season, which leaves questions about who will provide the scoring punch alongside Ronaldo. Portugal has a relatively clean bill of health heading into the tournament, which is a major boost for Martinez. As the team prepares for their journey in North America, the narrative will undoubtedly center on whether Ronaldo can finally capture the elusive title that would cement his legacy as the greatest to ever play the game.
Back to basketball. The Cleveland Cavaliers' Game 7 victory over the Pistons was a statement win that proved this core group has finally matured. Head coach Kenny Atkinson had been emphasizing the need for improvement, even writing the team's previous postseason record of 1-1, 1-5 on a whiteboard to motivate them. The gamble to trade for James Harden and move on from Darius Garland was a massive risk, but reaching the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time since 2018 suggests the move is paying dividends. Donovan Mitchell was the catalyst, but not just as a scorer. Atkinson pushed Mitchell to be more of a playmaker, urging him to hit singles and make the easy pass. Mitchell responded by recording 3 assists in the first 3 minutes, which opened up the floor for everyone else. This unselfish play allowed the Cavaliers to dismantle a 60-win Detroit team on their own court.
Jarrett Allen was another massive factor in the win, following a pre-game suggestion from team chairman Dan Gilbert to make Allen the focal point early on. Atkinson drew up the first play for Allen, and the big man responded with a dominant performance that set the tone for the rest of the night. The Cavaliers faced significant adversity in this series, falling behind 0-2 and suffering a demoralizing loss in Game 6. However, their response in Game 7 showed a level of resilience that previous iterations of this team lacked. Mitchell noted after the game that he has been running into the same postseason hurdles for nearly a decade, and finally breaking through to the conference finals is a huge weight off his shoulders. The team can celebrate for a moment, but they know the Knicks will provide an even tougher challenge starting Tuesday.
Regarding the Pistons, for the Detroit Pistons, the 125-94 loss in Game 7 was a painful end to what had otherwise been a remarkable turnaround season. Just 2 years ago, the Pistons were one of the worst teams in NBA history, enduring a record-breaking 28-game losing streak. To go from that to winning 60 games and securing the top seed in the East is an incredible achievement, even if the playoff exit was ugly. Coach J.B. Bickerstaff refused to call the season a disappointment. praising his players for their growth and willingness to sacrifice. He highlighted the spirit of the group and their rapid development into a legitimate contender. However, the players were clearly hurting after the blowout. Cade Cunningham admitted the loss felt terrible, especially since it happened in front of their home fans, reminding him of previous postseason failures.
The Pistons struggled to match Cleveland's physicality from the opening tip, shooting a dismal 35% from the floor and getting outscored significantly in the paint. Detroit never found their offensive rhythm, and the 31-point margin reflected a team that simply wasn't ready for the intensity of a Game 7. Oscar Thompson mentioned that the loss will serve as fuel for the offseason, as the young roster looks to learn from this experience. Despite the lopsided score, the foundation in Detroit looks solid. They have a core of young talent that has now tasted high-stakes playoff basketball. The challenge now is to take that final step and learn how to perform when the pressure is at its highest. Bickerstaff remains optimistic that this group is special and will use this heartbreak to come back stronger next year.
More on Cleveland. Cleveland's Game 7 dominance was largely due to their superior play in the paint. Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen combined for 44 points and 19 rebounds, completely outclassing Detroit's frontcourt. The Pistons usually pride themselves on being the more physical team, but they had no answer for the Cavaliers' big men. Donovan Mitchell also changed his approach, opting to drive to the basket rather than settling for long-range jumpers. By touching the paint on almost every possession, Mitchell forced the Detroit defense to collapse, which created open looks for shooters like Sam Merrill. Merrill was lethal off the bench, hitting 5 three-pointers and finishing with 23 points. This balanced attack made Cleveland look like the most talented team in the Eastern Conference, a potential they haven't always lived up to during the regular season.
The game was essentially over by the second half, as Cleveland's lead never dipped back into single digits after the early second quarter. Mitchell's 15-point outburst in the third quarter acted as the final nail in the coffin, slamming the door on any hopes of a Detroit comeback. The Pistons' stars struggled across the board, with Cade Cunningham and Tobias Harris having particularly rough shooting nights. Cleveland's ball movement was also exceptional, recording 18 assists on their first 22 made shots. This level of execution is exactly what they will need if they hope to upset the Knicks in the next round. If the Cavaliers can maintain this level of interior dominance and efficient playmaking, they have a real chance to reach the NBA Finals. The focus now shifts to Madison Square Garden for what promises to be a physical series.
Finally, the blowout. The Cavaliers' 125-94 victory was not just a win, it was a dismantling of the Eastern Conference's top seed. This marks the 9th time in franchise history that Cleveland has reached the conference finals, and it feels particularly significant as it's their deepest run since the LeBron James era. Donovan Mitchell's 26 points were crucial, but the defensive effort was equally impressive. They held Detroit to just 35% shooting and dominated the transition game by turning missed shots into easy baskets. Coach Kenny Atkinson noted that when his team plays with force on both ends of the floor, they are incredibly difficult to beat. He pointed out that they lacked that force in their Game 6 loss, but they brought it in spades for the decider. The ability to flip that switch in a high-pressure Game 7 is a promising sign for their upcoming series.
Mitchell's post-game comments reflected a leader who is satisfied but far from finished. He mentioned that while the team can breathe for about 12 hours, they need to get right back to work to prepare for New York. The Cavaliers have had their sights set on the NBA Finals since the beginning of the season, and they are now just one step away. For Detroit, the loss was a harsh reminder of the gap between a good regular season team and a championship contender. Cade Cunningham was held 16 points under his playoff average, a testament to Cleveland's stifling defense. As the Cavaliers head to New York for Game 1 on Tuesday, they carry the momentum of a team that finally knows how to win when it matters most. The Eastern Conference Finals are set to be a battle of wills.
That wraps up our sports briefing for today. Be sure to join us tomorrow for more updates on the playoffs and the road to the finals. Have a great day.